I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
Oh, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
What if we told you, year after year, kindergarten parents tend to ask the same questions over and over?
And after more than 50 years in the classroom combined, we've narrowed them down to the top 10 questions. Hi, I'm Kristine.
Hi, I'm Jenny, and welcome to Big Little Lessons. The lessons that we taught and learned throughout our years in elementary, circling back again and again. So, Kristine, how's your weekend going?
My weekend's going great. So yesterday, I had the privilege of meeting my new kindergarten classroom. So one of the things we do at our school is in the spring, we get to meet the incoming students and their parents, which is so interesting and so fun. But what we've seen and what happened yesterday was parents are a little bit, they're very, very excited and they can't wait to be a part of the community, but they also are a little anxious because they want to make sure that their beautiful 5-year-olds are ready for our program, right? So they start to ask questions. And what we've noticed is that the questions that they're asking are coming up year after year, over and over again, right?
Yeah, I know that it's, well, and I think for anybody going through a big transition in life, when you're going to a new school or a new community, you just want your kids to fit in. And so, it's real. And like you said, it's exciting.
And the questions are good questions. It was interesting yesterday, a family asked, so what's a day like in kindergarten? and I said, well, it's hard for me to answer that question right now, but I'll talk about how we spend time building community and getting the children ready because they're all coming from different preschools. And, at first I was like, oh, wow, this is a really big question. But I went around it and I'm like, I'm not going to tell you step by step of what happens.
Well, and especially this time of year in the spring is very different from the very beginning of the school year and mid-year.
Exactly.
That is a very loaded question. I mean, I can understand why they asked that broad question.
No, and they were sweet. I said, that's a big question. I'm not going to answer that question, but here's what I'll tell you. And she was like, oh yeah, I guess that's not a very good question.
I think the one comments that would come back, not often, thank goodness, but when parents would say something like, well, good luck with my kid. I was like, don't even.
I had that once or twice. I had a mom say to me, how come they're so well behaved at school and they're not well behaved at home?
Oh, gosh.
I thought, well, do you have any boundaries? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's an interesting thing what people will say. But I think in the midst of transition and change, it can bring out a host of emotions, whether it's excited or sad or worry. It's all, within the range of, we've seen it all.
So what we did today was we narrowed down 10 big questions that we want to talk about, right?
Yep. Let's get started.
And we're going in the vein of David Letterman. We're starting at 10.
10. Okay. So number 10, how do we know our child is ready for kindergarten?
It's a great question. I mean, the parents there, obviously their child is there, but this comes up earlier in the year when people are applying to kindergarten.
Yeah.
And when we speak to prospective parents, this was a question that we've talked to parents individually about. And we actually did an entire podcast on it. Jenny, remember?
Yep. Episode 2, kindergarten readiness.
There you go.
And I think it's interesting. How do we know our child is ready for kindergarten? We think parents are really asking, am I doing enough? Will my child be okay? Am I behind? They want to make sure their child is ready. Who doesn't want their child to be ready?
So what we always talk about is the importance of looking at the whole child, because some parents don't understand it's not about academics. Your child does not need to be reading. They do not need to know math skills. It's really about, it's multidimensional. Readiness is multidimensional.
Yeah. So we want to look at, first and foremost, their emotional regulation. Are they able to separate? Are they able to ask a question? It's okay to have some nervousness at the beginning, but that they are able to function with some basic skills and not fall apart.
Yeah. And we have tiers always at the beginning for some, but truly that's when children are 5 turning 6, and some of them are even 6 in kindergarten now.
Well, you're at an independent school, not
Right.
in schools.
Yes, exactly. It depends on when the cutoff of your school is. The separation is something that is usually worked out in preschool, but some children hold on to it and it takes some time.
Yes.
So that's normal. That's absolutely normal.
Yes. So for question number 10, re-listen to episode number 2, kindergarten readiness.
Yeah. And remember, academic perfection is not the goal. The goal is looking at your whole child.
A whole child. That's key. And I think we speak on behalf of all kindergarten teachers across the world.
Yes.
All right, let's go to 9. What should my child know academically before starting? And we hear this question or comment almost every year. And by the way, my child is already reading. So how do you challenge them?
I love that question. I'm like, yay, they're already reading. That's so great.
Yes.
Congratulations. So academically, before starting, what do we want them to know? We want them to recognize their name. We want them to be able to write their name. I mean, that's really the expectation, is that they should recognize it and be able to write it. They should be able to know which way a book goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and it seems so obvious, but if you're not reading to your child, if your child isn't browsing through books, they might not know how to hold that book right.
Right. And then as far as math goes, you want them to be able to count to 10, but also one-to-one correspondence, which means as they're counting, they can point. So a lot of children arrive in kindergarten and they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but their finger is pointing to like the third item.
Yeah.
Right?
So take a small handful of coins or beads or Legos and make sure that they can point and count up to 10.
Yeah. And you can do lots of fun things with that, like show me a group of 3, show me a group of 5. So just making it fun and playful always at home.
Yes. One area of academics is, can your child listen to a story? It's important that they're building their reading stamina. And it doesn't mean Saturday we're going to sit down for 2 hours. It means within their range. If they're 4, 5, 6 years old, they should be able to listen to a short storybook, which would take less than 10 minutes. Can they listen to it?
And what is their interest level in the storybook?
Yes.
How to engage them.
Yes. And I'd say the other thing academically is, are they showing some interest in letters and sounds? That doesn't mean they need to read, but acknowledging, hey, look at these letters down here. Look at it. So just in your conversation about the story, and say, oh my gosh, look how big this letter is on a page. Just noticing, being aware. And is your child showing interest?
And then, for the children who arrive in kindergarten and can read, we are experts at knowing what to do with those kids, because honestly, it's, they're still 5 and 6. So the idea is not to give them books, harder and harder books with more and more font. The idea is to go more horizontal and to go deeper into literacy and to ask bigger questions, and who are the main characters, and notice the talking marks and reading with expression. And we have so much success with those kids. And our reading program, we believe the units of study is designed for children to be able to read individually at their own level.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's talk about what's not required to start kindergarten. Kristine, do you want to start?
Well, yeah. I mean, fluent reading is not required.
No.
Perfect handwriting is not required.
Mm-mm. No. And advanced math. No, we don't need children that are doing algebra.
Or double-digit addition. That's not impressive. They don't understand what they're doing. It might seem impressive because they can follow the steps of knowing what to do, but they don't understand developmentally what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Necessary.
Often people think the bigger, the faster, that somehow they're more genius. But if they don't understand the relationship with numbers, like you mentioned, putting things in groups of 3 or groups of 5 and understanding which one is more and which one is less, you want to build that number sense and you don't need to rush it. We want to build it step by step. And so again, if your child is reading, congratulations, that's wonderful. But there are so many other components to the day of kindergarten that it's not the only benchmark that you should say, my child is a genius and they're ready for more, more, and more. That it's not just about reading or being able to count to 100, that it's again, back to the whole child.
Exactly. So many levels, multidimensional. So Jenny, what social skills matter most? Question number 8.
Yeah. So we get that question. What does my kid need to do socially? And that is a huge part of kindergarten is their social abilities. So we made it a little priority list. And one of them is being able to take turns.
Yeah. Back and forth, taking turns.
Yep.
And then following simple directions, not 10 things, 2 or 3 things.
Absolutely.
Even one or two at the beginning, and then we build on that.
How are they when they are introduced to a circle of friends? Are they able to come in and start to play? That's a big social skill set that is really not easy to do for anyone. But are they interested in others?
Yeah, and I think that definitely is a spectrum, right? Entering into play. If your child struggles with it, that's something we work on a lot in kindergarten, but noticing, are they never entering in? Are they curious to enter in? Do they stay on the periphery? So that's really relevant.
We've had students that do like to have some downtime, that others tend to overwhelm them. And that's okay to be able to step away. I mean, when you think about the world of introverts and extroverts, some kids just can't get enough people. The more, the merrier. And for others, they might feel like people totally drain me and it's a busy day and they need a moment. So there's a lot of, like you said, there is a wide range, but are they willing to play with others at some level, some part of the day? I think is a huge part of entering into the world of a classroom.
Yeah, and also navigating that whole world of the back and forth, going back to the taking turns. Like, this is my idea. Can your child compromise and not always have their idea? Can they take the idea of others? So I think that's really important too.
I mean, a huge lesson in kindergarten is that the world doesn't evolve around them. It's like, I think we're just naturally drawn to being self-centered. And so the goal is to understand somebody else's point of view, someone else's other idea, and how you can grow and learn from that experience.
We talk so much in kindergarten about using your words and building their word toolbox. So when you're frustrated, instead of using your hands, use your words.
Yeah.
And that is, I feel like that's one of the greatest, something that we see so much growth in with a lot of children in kindergarten, the ability to be less impulsive with their bodies and more tuned into using their words as they mature.
And a huge priority would be tolerating small frustrations And under that umbrella, I would also say able to develop some delayed gratification, that they don't get exactly what they want when they want. We always have students that come up to us that want our attention immediately, and we're talking to someone else. And so we'll say, I'm actually talking to another student or a colleague, and hold on, I see you, but you're going to have to take a moment. And they need to have their pencil sharpened or something, but to be able to hold on to waiting and not getting so frustrated and irritated if they don't get their needs met immediately or their questions answered immediately. That's a huge part of growing.
Huge. Social stamina matters absolutely as much as academic skills.
The social part of a child's development is actually the basic foundation blocks for going into the academic world.
Yeah.
Academics are going to come, then there's no doubt. But if you don't have a good foundation on the social part of it, if your child just loses it, if something doesn't go their way, how are they going to take in new information? So the social dynamic is a big part of the child's readiness for the full day kindergarten.
And I think the transition from preschool to kindergarten, in preschool, you're focusing so much on the social, and this is your first time learning how to become a student. It's the beginning of what that looks like for your child. So it is absolutely huge.
All right. So let's go to question number 7. My child still has big emotions. Is that a problem?
It's like the secret worry, right? What do we tell parents when they ask us that?
Well, it depends on the parent's perspective. Some people don't see anything wrong when their child is completely screaming in a rage. They're like, well, that's what children do. I think that the truth is there's some things that are very normal.
Yeah. Like
Let's talk about what's normal in a kindergarten. Say at the beginning of the year is drop off.
Yeah, tears are normal. Separation, a little bit of separation anxiety is normal. Saying goodbye. I mean, this is a new environment. They're entering into something completely new. So that is absolutely normal. Also, being a little bit frustrated with their friends or their peers. Normal, but we help them understand, like using their words, how to navigate that.
Yeah. No, that's part of our whole life. If you think about yourself, are you always, in agreement with your friends and family? The answer would probably be no, but learning how to navigate, that's just a lifelong skill.
Yeah.
Normal kindergarten behaviors also include sometimes they're going to have uneven regulation. They're all of a sudden if they're hungry, they might start to be more teary or have less energy to attune to what we're doing. But that's just normal. I think it's when it's just so extreme, when it's disrupting the entire class. That's when that's a problem. And again, that's when you should be in conversation with your preschool teachers. That should be going on all the time.
Yeah. So, needing reminders is normal.
Yes.
We don't expect children to sit still and listen all day long. I mean, that's just not realistic.
All right. So what is helpful for any child with their emotions?
I love when children come in and they can name and identify their feelings. I feel frustrated. I feel angry. That makes me feel this way, or that makes me feel I didn't like it when. Using their words to name their feelings is something we work on, as we mentioned earlier, but I am always so impressed when kids come in being able to do that.
It just makes me think of this sweet Charlie. We name all our students Charlie. It was in the spring, so the math was a little bit more challenging, and someone was really frustrated. And one of my Charlies said, "It's okay. It's okay. Just take a deep breath. We're going to work on this together." It was the most endearing thing.
They become the teachers. I love that.
They became the teachers. But I loved seeing one student talking to another student about how to manage their feelings, and it's okay. And this was a student actually at the beginning of the year was losing it all the time. So it was really cute. She was practicing what she had been been learning.
I love that. And she was practicing her calm down strategies also.
Oh
Like,
yeah, she's
hey,
like
take a deep
she's
breath.
she's like just slow down, just say you're okay, and take a deep breath. It was very sweet.
So those strategies are essential. We need those strategies in life. They have to be taught. So all those social emotional skills have to be taught. We're not assuming that they just develop in people. So, count to 10, take a deep breath, use your breathing tool. We are constantly going back to those in kindergarten.
Yeah, we need those predictable routines where we know the kids know this is how it works. And it should be going this way at home as well. It's like in our family, this is how we get ready for the day, or this is our routine for getting ready for dinner, or whatever it is. We do that a lot in the classroom, is learning the routines and how we get ready to come into the classroom. What are the next things that we do? How do we prepare for outside play? How do we come in? How do we pack up? All of that will help them with understanding what's expected, and it'll help them emotionally as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And lots of reassurance, lots of, positive feedback for growth. And we actually did an episode called Navigating Big Feelings. I think it was number 9, right, Jenny?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. With Danny Fee. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Danny really helped us understanding the big feelings and some really good practical tips on how to help yourself and your child with navigating their big feelings.
So let's move on to number 6. Question number 6. Should I be worried if my child can't sit still? So was that a red flag when you're asking us that question?
Well, and it goes back to the expectations. If you're expecting them to sit like little robots, well, ask yourself, are you sitting still all the time? And the answer is probably no. So it depends on, sometimes kids aren't able to sit still, and that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, they're going to have wiggles, and that's normal. But are they engaged, I think, is what I would say. Look at their level of curiosity and willingness to try. That's a big thing to look at.
Our expectation at the beginning is that they're sitting for 4 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They're not sitting for 30 minutes at a time.
No.
That would never happen. That's not realistic. 5-year-olds are meant to move. They're meant to have wiggles, and it takes time for them to develop stamina.
One of the things that we've been saying over and over again is building some capacity for focus, and that requires some areas of what not to do. So are you limiting screen time? We can't say that enough. If your child, you're like, my child can sit for hours on an iPad, that is not a good way to build stamina of sitting still or being able to retain focus ability. So limit the screen time. Are you in conversation with your preschool teacher? What are those teachers noticing? What are they sharing with you? Are you observing your child when they're with others? And are they in the same line of attention span?
I think also we've talked a lot about boredom, like what it means to be bored and how boredom promotes creativity, having unstructured playtime where your child is not being in a class, or, so many of our children just have one thing after the next after the next. They're going from soccer to dance, but instead of that, just play and watch what your child does. Can they create something on their own? Can they sustain focus to come up with their own idea?
You do not have to entertain your child all the time. So even taking them on some simple errands, you do not need to entertain them the whole time. It's okay for them. Kristine, my favorite is when you teach your kids how to twiddle their thumbs. And learning about the ability to make do, and you don't have to be entertained the whole time. And that doesn't mean you have to pull out your phone and say, okay, start playing some apps. That doesn't need to happen.
No, just sit and be and observe and connect and watch and engage and look around.
Yes. Yes.
So all of those things are critical.
So the green flags for sitting still are that they can attend for short periods. They should be able to listen to a 10-minute story. Are they able to respond to redirection?
Right. So if they're wiggly or if they're talking to their friend and we remind them, Charlie, can you look over here? Can you settle your body? And then they respond and they can do that.
And showing curiosity. Kids
Absolutely.
love to learn. They love to learn. So things to look at that are a little more closely are they're not engaging at all.
Right.
That's a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem. And if their impulsivity is unsafe and it's happening repeatedly over and over and over again, if they're using their body or their hands, and it's problematic.
Yeah. And they cannot follow simple directions, even with support. It's like they're just not able to put their clothes in the laundry hamper and then come meet you near the car or something. If they can't follow that simple direction, that's a problem.
I mean, it's a fixable problem, but it is a problem.
Time to reevaluate. What are we doing?
Yeah. And then let's move on to question number 5. How independent should my child be? I feel like, again, that's a spectrum, right? But we would love to offer some clarity. So helpful independent skills, like definitely using the bathroom. We're not going to lie. We've had parents say to us, would you help my child in the bathroom? Can you wipe my child's bottom? And the answer is we cannot.
No. The answer is no. That's a hard no. They need to be able to use the bathroom independently. So if they're not, it's really time to.
Yeah. Being able to manage simple clothing. I mean, it's cute in kindergarten. Like we can button stuff and zip stuff, but it's really the expectation that they should be able to, after they use the restroom, to be able to zip up their pants and put them on. And
yes.
Yeah, like we can zip up jackets and we can help when the sleeves are inside out. I mean, that's part of our job.
Yes. And it's always a chance to practice. And actually, they want to learn. So just because you've been helping them with all their clothing, you always want to have that framework. Like, can my child actually do this on themselves? Even like buckling their car seats. For a while, they can't. Their arms aren't long enough. It's too hard to switch over. But keep reevaluating every 6 months. Like, hey, maybe my child could actually do this right now. And what they can do for themselves, let them do it for themselves.
Absolutely. Also, they're bringing their lunch to school. So opening their containers, closing their containers, managing their snack and their lunchbox. I'm actually pretty impressed with kids doing all that. It's a lot. And they have these very fancy lunch containers now that snap and have all these compartments and fit into another bag, and that fits into your lunch pail. So,
I know. I love those bento boxes. They're so cute. And the parents, the way they prepare those lunches are just amazing. I'm like, where were these bento boxes when I was growing up? They're great. But yeah, if they can open and close those lunch containers themselves, that's a goal. And so I think as parents, we tend to we think that's our way of showing our love for our kids. But again, getting them to do this for themselves is huge.
These are all independent skills. Cleaning up with some prompts. Now it's time to put the markers away or put the materials that you used away.
Mm-hmm.
And we do a huge lesson at the beginning of the year. It's actually one of my favorites when we take off the caps to the markers and then we show them that they go on the back. They stick on the back while they're using it. And then when you put it back on, it makes a little click. I'm like, click. Did you hear the click? Okay, you heard the click. And, they have to learn to do that.
Yes, and they can. That's the thing. And so it takes time and there's progress, but we're not expecting perfection. But that independence, when they're able to do things for themselves, that's what builds confidence.
There's so much more to kindergarten than reading and writing and math.
Absolutely. All right. So let's go to our top 10 questions. Number 4, what can we do this summer before kindergarten?
Oh, this is a great one. So definitely reading every day. Read, read, read.
Yep.
Read at bedtime. Have books available. Have books in your car.
Practice reading, and just every day you're going out to dinner, let's look at the menu and let's notice things. But reading storybooks is the best. We also advise that you practice play dates. This is what kids want to do anyway, and it's actually really helping them prepare for kindergarten. So schedule those play dates. They don't need to be all day. I think it's always better to end when they're having a good time. So as long as both kids or a group of kids are having a good time, schedule those play dates frequently.
Yeah, and short and sweet. I agree. Also, if you're able to visit the school that your child will be going to, or just, make them familiar with what it looks like. And if you're able to visit the playground, that would be great. At the very least, drive by the school and be like, that's where we're going to school next year.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the transition when you're 4, like leaving preschool. The new students that I met yesterday, I think it's really hard for them to developmentally to understand that they're leaving the school that they're at. They have no plans of leaving their preschool. They understand that this is going to be their new school, but when? The concept of time.
3 months away, it seems like forever.
Forever.
Building some simple routines. If you don't have, you probably do more than you think you do, but building simple routines such as how we're going to navigate the day and getting ready for the day and making our beds, putting dishes away, whatever it is, but building those simple routines, because when they go to school in kindergarten, they're going to be building routines. So we don't want it to be completely foreign to them.
One of the things that I did with my son that I love is I always the night before would talk about the next day.
Yes.
And I just felt like that was so helpful.
For everybody.
Because they're not in control of their day. We're making their days for them. So this is what's happening tomorrow. And then they can start to have some ownership over, so tomorrow we're doing this and we're doing this.
Practicing independent skills. Again, comes back to bathroom routines, taking care of things. If you've taught them how to make a sandwich, let them make the sandwich. If you're teaching them where to put their toys at the end of the day, let them do that, practicing and being independent.
And we talk about shoe tying because I think it's really interesting. It used to be, back in the day, that was something that children had to learn in kindergarten at the very least. And I would say probably by the end of kindergarten, there's just a very small handful of children who can actually do that. We've been talking to a little boy who really wants to learn. So I told his mom, can you please help Charlie? Because he's eager. We don't have the time to sit down with them and show them. Yeah. So shoe tying, I literally remember learning to tie my shoes. I was about 4 years old, and it was barely 1970. My parents had like this amazing yellow shag rug. Remember those shag rugs?
Oh yeah, we had shag rugs.
And I was sitting on the shag rug for probably a very long time, just determined, and I just did it over and over again.
Tying?
Yeah.
Tying.
Until I learned to tie my shoe, and I felt so proud of myself when I learned. It's a big deal.
It's a skill. And there's many, many different ways to tying shoes. I was helping a student one time, and I wanted to make it as simple as possible. And you cannot believe how many different varied ways there are to tying shoes. So give it a go. But yes, children absolutely should learn how to do this. It's a good skill to have. You're going to have tie up shoes, and you don't want to be 15 years old asking someone to tie your shoes for you.
Exactly. And then for another idea, summer is not about drill and kill academically. Play board games, play different games, play card games. There's ways to sneak in academics that are not traditional pencil and paper drilling your child.
You can sprinkle in literacy and math and counting, all of that kind of stuff, just day to day living your life, going to the beach and just having a good time.
Without screens.
Take away the screens. Okay. All right. So number 3, how long does the adjustment period usually take? For teachers, we always talk about the first 6 weeks is so essential for setting routines, for creating that classroom community. So the first few weeks, I would say the very first month, it's a brand new routine, a brand new classroom. Even if they have some kids that they've known from preschool, it's a brand new classroom and a new teacher. So,
yeah, and they're putting out so much. Like their mental energy and their emotional energy and their physical energy. We've seen kids just do beautifully during the day, and then they get in their cars and they just either conk out, fall asleep, or start crying.
My big recommendation, though, would be to really limit what you're doing after school, especially that first 4 to 6 weeks. Give your child downtime if you can, to be able to say, we're going to go back home and have some quiet time for a half hour, 45 minutes. They need to have some downtime. And if your child's going to after school care because you're working all day, give yourself and your child a little bit of break, because they've been adjusting to a lot of new things. And that if your child's having outbursts or extra tears, just know that this too shall pass, that it's a transition.
Yeah, it's a transition, and transitions can be hard. So regression at the beginning is absolutely normal.
Mm-hmm.
We see that year after year. So the first 2 weeks, you'll see that emotional tiring. And then, by week 3 to 6, routines are settling in. And actually, this is what I spoke to parents about yesterday. The first few weeks of school is so focused on building community and getting to know one another and learning each other's names and knowing what is happening in this new place that they have to go to every day. They're meeting new teachers. So I would say by October,
yes,
is the time when most children really start to feel, show confidence.
Yes. Things are settling into place. And then they ramp up for Halloween.
Then all bets are off. Then you're like, why is it so chaotic?
Yeah. So you have like October 1st to October 10th. I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness. So question number 2, what are some red flags that we shouldn't ignore?
I know this one's always a tough one. We want to build trust with the parents. So some gentle but clear watch fors. Things you shouldn't ignore are extreme separation distress that does not improve.
Right.
Let's look at a month into it, and every day it's the same kind of this outburst and this, like the big emotions where they're not able to clarify, they're not able to name anything. It's their go-to. That is a red flag.
Right. Or their impulsivity is difficult to manage, right?
Yes.
So they are not able to use their words, and they're hitting others, or they're There's behavior that is more typical with 3 and 4-year-olds. They haven't let it go. They haven't been able to get a handle on it. So that's challenging.
Sometimes it could be a complete lack of interest, or there's just a combative extreme where they're having difficulties with friends throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I was going to say also language concerns, not being able to communicate with their peers, not being able to communicate their ideas or their wants or their needs. And that creates a lot of frustration too.
Yeah. And another red flag is the continuous, persistent inability to follow simple directions. And we both have had classroom experience where we talked to the children one-on-one privately. We've met with the child and their parents to discuss some of the procedures at school, and they don't seem to take that in. And so when they're not able to follow those directions, that's a problem. Such as, I remember one year I had some students that when we were walking to PE, they wanted to open bathroom doors and scream at the top of their lungs. And it would scare other students who were using the restroom. And so we talked to them over and over and over and over again, and it didn't change. And this was 5-6 months into a school year, and it was just not sinking in. And that was just something that was so frustrating because I knew these children wanted to do a good job. Of course they did. But it was like they weren't taking in the reasons why. We kind of were saying, do you understand? How can we do this? This is why we don't do this. You're scaring other kids. And it just didn't seem to land.
Right. So I
It's a red
feel
flag.
like, yeah, that is a red flag, but that's not the end of the world. All teachers, if your teachers are reaching out to you as parents, we want to work in partnership with you. Your child is the center of attention. They are the ones that we're trying to help. So if we're asking you for help, parents, let's work in partnership. It's not anything to be ashamed about. Everybody has something that they have to work on. But sometimes if it's an extreme red flag, it's time to consider support, right?
Mhm.
We all know that early intervention, any kind of intervention, the earlier you do it, the better and the more
Yeah.
supportive it is. And we've seen incredible shifts and incredible progress with kids that struggled with certain behaviors of what we just talked about and turned it around completely.
Yeah. And that is such good partnership, and reaching out and getting extra support is key. All right. Now we're down to number one. What's the most important thing parents can do? Again, that's kind of a loaded big question, but I would say there's a few things that you can do to really, the most important thing would be to have connection with the community, the school community, the classroom, the teacher, and getting to know other families in your child's class.
Yeah, and connection with your child.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Spending time getting to really know what kind of learner your child is, what they love, what their passions are, what they don't like, and also what your hopes and dreams are for your child.
Yeah.
Just really looking closely at keeping connection in mind.
And also, what are you fearful of for your child? I think
Great.
that's important. We kind of gloss over that, but what are you hoping for your child and what are you fearing for your child?
That's a great one. Routines we've talked about, just making sure that you're providing structure in your home so that your child feels safe, your child knows what's happening, and it will help them learn also.
Yes. Encouragement over pressure. I think it's good to have expectations for your child, but under the line of encouragement and not this, you must.
You will.
You will.
Anything on your plate.
Yeah, no. But I think just always being positive, like whatever it is that they're interested in is always a good place. Like, I love that you love learning about trucks. And I think it would be so fun to go to the library and pick out books about trucks and really learn some more information, because instead of saying, you know what, you need to get books and you need to start reading, but you can weave in that encouragement, finding what they're interested in and meeting them where they are. So.
Also going back to that encouragement over pressure, like when you're working in partnership with your teachers, if a teacher says, Charlie had a hard day today, because it's not an opportunity to scold Charlie and tell Charlie that is absolutely not acceptable. It's an opportunity to have a teachable moment and to talk about it's a learning opportunity for your child, and it's a teachable opportunity for you. So that's also what encouragement over pressure means.
Another thing you can do is partnership with teachers. Get to know the teachers. I know for us, we love getting to know our parents. It's part of the joy. And because we all have the same goal in mind to help this beautiful child into the world of learning and school.
Yeah. And then also just be patient with development. Development is a beautiful thing, and there's so many wonderful resources to support the understanding of where your child is in their development. So if that's hard for you, I'm thinking of Yardsticks.
Yeah.
We should definitely link that book, because if we haven't already, it's so concrete, and like you'll open it up and it'll say, okay, my 6-year-old at home, my 6-year-old in the classroom, my 5-year-old at home. And it goes all the way up to
14, I think.
14. So it's a great resource to understand what behavior is, more typical, or what are the benchmarks that my child should be meeting.
Absolutely. All right. So those are our top 10. Be sure to check into episode number 2 and episode number 9 for emotions and kindergarten readiness.
Absolutely.
Let's go into our speed round, Kristine. So quick yes or no, short answer. Okay. Question number 1, should my child be reading?
No. Question number 2, how much homework is typical?
We're not huge homework fans, so we're going to say no homework, but reading every day to your child. How about that?
I love that.
Are tears at drop-off normal?
Yes, they are, especially at the beginning.
Yes. Should we be practicing writing every day?
A little, why not?
Yeah. Work on the hand grip.
Oh, I like that. So look at the way your child is holding a pencil.
Yeah. There's different forms that could be a whole episode on its own, but you want the tripod or even the quadrupod hand grip. That's probably more important than actually the writing. You want to, and it's so hard to change once they have that grip down, but for long-term wrist development and control, you want to have a good grip.
Is it okay if my child is shy?
Yes, that's just part of who they are. I think someone who is observant is actually someone is observing the situation and assessing. It doesn't mean they have to be out there, taking charge of everything.
100%. So do we want to give some homework, optional listener homework? This is good, like concrete homework for confidence, kindergarten confidence building.
Yeah, so choose one. So one at a time. I would recommend all 3 or all 4 we have, but practice one at a time. Number 1, practice opening lunch containers.
Yeah. And schedule a play date.
Yep. Read together every night.
And practice the goodbye routine. I like that.
Yeah, practice the goodbye. It's all good. So small steps will lead to big confidence.
Love that.
These questions we explored today address the developmental milestones of kindergarten age students and are the ones that keep showing up again and again.
They also remind us that we're doing the best we can. We hope it gives some clarity for families as they begin this magical journey, and it is magical.
If one of these questions resonated with you, we'd love for you to share this episode with a friend or someone who might need a little encouragement right now. You can find us on Instagram at Teach Big Little Lessons or reach out anytime at teachbiglittlelessons@gmail.com.
Yes, we do not have all the answers, but we have lots and lots of experience. And as always, remember, big little lessons are everywhere. Until next time, bye, Jenny.
Bye, Kristine.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.